Stop everything now. Do not proceed. Do not reply to messages. Don't let this moment slip away like so many others in your life. Take a deep breath. Because while you listen to these words, something invisible is happening around you. There is a silent field that surrounds each person. Some people enter a room and nothing happens. Others come in, and everything changes. Opportunities arise. People are paying attention. Money finds a way. Respect happens effortlessly. This is not luck. This is no coincidence. That's it, aura. Napoleon Hill spent decades studying the most successful men in history and discovered something disturbing. They didn't think like ordinary people. They didn't speak like ordinary people. And above all, they didn't vibrate like ordinary people. They carried a presence, a field, an identity so clearly defined the world had no choice but to respond. Today, you will understand how this aura is created, not with empty promises, not with soulless, repeated phrases, but with decisiveness, conviction, and inner control. Because success doesn't begin when the money arrives. Money comes when success arrives. It already lives inside you. Welcome to Aura of Success, the invisible aura that governs your entire life. Before we talk about money, wealth, or prosperity, we need to talk about something much deeper, something Napoleon Hill understood by observing men like Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, and Thomas Edison. They didn't attract success because they chased after it. They attracted success because they already lived within a specific mental framework. Napoleon Hill called this dominant thinking. Today, at Aura of Success, we call this ... identity field. Every human being emits a silent field all the time. This field is not mystical in a fantastical sense. It is made up of three very clear elements. What do you believe to be true about yourself? What do you expect from the world? What you declare, even unconsciously, through your language. This field is your aura. And here's a truth that almost no one is prepared to hear. The world doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you hold as your identity. Napoleon Hill said that thoughts are things. But he wasn't talking about fleeting thoughts. He spoke of thoughts inhabited, repeated, accepted, defended internally. When a thought becomes an identity, it ceases to be mental and becomes ... magnetic. And magnetism doesn't ask for anything. Magnetism attracts. Observe people who live in scarcity for years. They not only have little money, their necessity emanates. And now observe people who thrive even in difficult circumstances. They don't beg for opportunities. Opportunities seek them out. Why? Because one lives on the frequency of doubt, and the other lives in the frequency of certainty. And for sure, it creates an aura. Napoleon Hill called this aptly faith. Not religious faith. Faith as an inner conviction, so solid that it does not compromise with external circumstances. This faith doesn't speak loudly. It cannot be explained. It's not justified. She just remains. And when someone remains internally successful, the external world slowly, inevitably, begins to align. Not because the universe is nice, but why is reality? It obeys the strongest identity present in the field. This is the first pillar of the aura of success. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And as long as you don't change that, every effort turns into a struggle. Every attempt becomes exhausting. And every achievement becomes something that slips through your fingers. Dominant thoughts. How the aura of success is built before any wealth appears in the physical world. It already exists as a reality. Consolidated mental reality. Napoleon Hill dedicated his entire life to proving this by observing, interviewing, and spending time with the most successful men in modern history. And the more he observed, the more an uncomfortable truth became impossible to ignore. They didn't occasionally think like successful people. They thought like that all the time. This is the point that almost everyone ignores. Most people believe that thinking positively once in a while is enough. The fact that you can repeat a phrase when you're motivated already creates some effect. But Hill was categorical. The mind attracts that which it most frequently occupies. not what she wants, not what she imagines in moments of hope, but that which continuously dominates its internal space. This dominant thought is what, at Aura of Success, we call Aura Core. What is a dominant way of thinking? A dominant thought is not an isolated idea. He is a recurring internal condition, a silent conclusion that you have already accepted as truth. For example, life is difficult. Money requires sacrifice. There's always something missing. I have to fight hard to achieve very little. These sentences may not even need to be said aloud, but they organize their emotions, their decisions, and their energy. Napoleon Hill taught that when a thought is repeated with sufficient emotion, it ceases to be merely mental and becomes an active force. And active force creates field. The field creates an aura. Aura creates reality. Your aura is not born from what you want, but from what you expect. Here's a crucial point. There is a huge difference between desire and ecstasy. Desire still accepts the possibility of failure. Expectations already assume that the result will come. Hill claimed that unsuccessful people live in a state of wishing. Successful people live expecting naturally, and this silent expectation shapes the aura. When someone expects to lose, their posture changes. When someone expects to be rejected, their energy gives it away. When someone anticipates scarcity, their decisions become defensive. Now observe the opposite. When someone expects prosperity without immediate evidence, your body relaxes, your voice changes. Your choices become bolder, your presence grows stronger. None of this is magic. It is mental coherence. And mental coherence generates magnetism. The mistake most people make, trying to change their lives without changing their dominant mindset. Napoleon Hill was direct. You cannot change destiny as long as you maintain the same mental pattern. Most people try. Change jobs, move to another city, change of relationship, change strategy, but it carries with it the same dominant mindset. Result? External reality changes for a while and then returns to the same pattern. Why? Because the aura was not altered. In Aura of Success, the rule is clear. Those who don't change the landscape repeat the same scenario. How dominant thought becomes aura. This process happens on 3 levels. Repetition, recurring thoughts create familiarity. Emotion. Emotion gives weight and depth to thought. Acceptance, when you stop questioning an idea, it becomes your identity. At that moment, thought ceases to be something you have, and it becomes something that you and identity radiates. What Napoleon Hill called a determined mind, Hill used the term definite purpose, define purpose. But this goes beyond professional goals. A definite mind is one that it does not oscillate internally. She doesn't change her beliefs from day to day. She doesn't panic when there are delays. She doesn't negotiate with fear. This mind generates a stable aura. And a stable aura is perceived as trust, authority, leadership, potential prosperity, even before any money appears. The biggest difference between those who prosper and those who don't. After studying thousands of people, Hill noticed something unsettling. People don't fail because of a lack of opportunity. They fail because they hold thoughts that are incompatible with success. And here's the part that few people accept. You can learn strategies. You can study finance. You can repeat statements. But if your dominant thought is, "This is not for me," your aura will remain blocked. The world does not respond to the effort. He responds to internal coherence. Aura of Success. The moment the game changes, when a person changes their dominant thought pattern, something silent happens. Stop explaining to justify, stop comparing, stop begging for recognition. He moves as if he already expects to win. And this state changes everything. People can sense it. The doors open. Opportunities arise without warning. Not because someone decreed wealth, but why the inner field became compatible with her. A question that defines your future. Napoleon Hill used to provoke his students with a simple and devastating question. Which thought occupies the most space in your mind when no one is watching? That thought He is the invisible architect of your life. And as long as he doesn't change, nothing really changes. Do Napoleon Hill, Florence Scovel Shinn, the central concept of aura of success. The spoken word, the final seal of success. There's a precise moment when thought ceases to be merely internal and transforms into active creative force. Napoleon Hill observed this repeatedly while studying leaders, inventors, and magnates. They not only thought in a definite way, they spoke from that definition. And that is the invisible border that separates those who only dream from those who. They materialize. Thoughts create the field. But the spoken word seals reality. Why words have real power. Hill asserted that thoughts are things, but he also made it clear that thoughts only gain maximum power when they are expressed with emotion. Florence Scovel Shinn was even more direct. The spoken word is the magic wand of humankind. In aura of success, this means something very specific. Your aura is not formed solely by what you think, but based on what you declare to be the truth in the world. Every time you speak, you confirm your identity. The universe doesn't argue, it obeys. Here's a truth that makes many people uncomfortable. The universe doesn't analyze whether you're playing games. It doesn't interpret irony. He doesn't differentiate between fear and the joke. He only responds to emotional frequency behind the word. When you say, "That never works for me. I'm terrible with money," it always goes wrong, even in a casual tone. You are signing invisible decrees. Napoleon Hill observed that successful people are extremely careful with language. Not out of superstition, but out of conscience. They know that speaking is programming. The word as an extension of identity. A person can try to appear confident, but if your words betray doubt, your aura becomes conflicted. And where there is internal conflict, there's no magnetism. Aura strong demands total coherence between thought, emotion, word. When these three elements align, something changes in the person's presence. She's not convincing. She imposes effortlessly. The error of mechanical statements. Napoleon Hill warned about this clearly. Repetition without emotion, it does not create power. Repetition with doubt, it reinforces the opposite. Most people say positive things, but thinks the opposite, feels the opposite, expect the opposite result. Words lose their authority. In aura of success, there's an unspoken rule. Never declare something that your mind is still trying to deny. First, conviction is born from within. Then the word only confirms. When the word becomes a decree, there is a difference between speaking and decreeing. Speaking arises from fleeting emotion. To decree rises from a decision. Napoleon Hill said that firm decisions alter the course of life. Florence said that words spoken with absolute faith, they don't come back empty. The decree is born at the point where these two ideas meet. A decree doesn't ask for anything. Do not beg, don't try, he establishes. And when someone speaks from that inner place, their aura changes immediately. The language of success is simple and firm. Observe people who consistently thrive. They don't dramatize things. They're not exaggerating. They don't play the victim. His language is direct, clear, and stable. This happens because they are not trying to convince anyone. They are already convinced internally, and the world notices this. The aura is strengthened when the word, it carries no fear. It does not carry justification. Does not load order. What do you say when no one is listening? Here's a crucial question. How do you talk about money when you're alone? How would you describe your life during intimate moments? These unspoken words are rehearsals for your future reality. Napoleon Hill called this constant self-suggestion. You are always strengthening your aura or sabotaging their own field. There is no such thing as neutrality. The aura breaks when language betrays conviction. Many people build a good mindset, and then they destroy it with automated phrases. A casual comment, a complaint, a self-deprecating joke, and the field weakens. In aura of success, you learn something simple, yet powerful. Never speak against the success you are trying to achieve, even in a light tone. even unintentionally. The moment when words transform destiny. There is a specific moment when someone says something and feels internally that that's final. At that time, there's no anxiety, there's no doubt, there's no need to repeat. The word was spoken from the perspective of identity. And when that happens, the universe responds. Not immediately in chronological time, but immediately in causal field. Now you understand. Thoughts build the field. The words addle aura, but the most crucial point of all is still missing. The moment when the decision is made, the point of no return. The true birth of the aura of success. Napoleon Hill called this final decision. In the next part, you will understand why. Successful people make quick decisions. They rarely back down. And never compromise with their own identity. Decision. The exact moment when the aura is born. There's a specific moment in everyone's life when the game changes forever. It's not about when the money arrives. It's not about when the opportunity arises. It's not when someone recognizes your worth. The real turning point happens in silence, inside the mind. Napoleon Hill was clear and direct throughout decades of study. Successful people make decisions quickly and rarely change their minds. This is not a motivational phrase. It's the law. And those who do and understand this law spend their entire lives waiting for something external to give them permission to change. Why the majority never truly decides. Most people think they decide. But in practice, only considers possibilities. They say, I am going to try. Let's see how it goes. Who knows one day? These are not decisions. These are disguised postponements. Napoleon Hill observed that people trapped in mediocrity live in a constant state of internal negotiation. They never fully take a stand. And those who don't take a stand, it does not create an aura. Decision is an energy breakdown. Deciding is not about choosing an option. Deciding discloses alternatives. When someone truly decides, she stops contemplating failure. Stop keeping the door open for doubt. Stop protecting yourself emotionally, and this internal isolation generates something powerful, field stability. The aura is born when there is no more oscillation. The moment when identity takes place, Napoleon Hill called this definite decision. In aura of success, we call it identity fixation. Before the decision, the mind oscillates, energy leaks, the presence is unstable. After the decision, thought becomes organized, the word aligns, the body relaxes, the aura consolidates. Not because life has become easy, but why internally there's no longer any doubt. Why the universe responds to decision. Here's a crucial point. The universe doesn't respond to wishes. He responds to oppositions. While you're ordering, you vibrate with dependence. You vibrate with neediness. You radiate insecurity. When you decide, you exude authority. You vibrate with clarity. You vibrate in alignment. And authority creates an immediate response in the field. Napoleon Hill observed that, after a firm decision, people begin to perceive opportunities that have always been there, but which were previously invisible. Nothing new was created. The perception is that it has changed. The decision is the birth of the aura. The aura of success doesn't appear gradually. It is born in an instant. This is the moment when you decide, this is who I am now. I'm not going back to the old way. I no longer negotiate with scarcity. This decision does not need to be announced. It is felt. And when it is felt, the world is starting to react. Why does deciding scare so many people? Because making a decision eliminates excuses. After you decide, you can no longer blame the environment. You can no longer blame people. You can no longer blame the weather. And taking full responsibility is scary. But that's precisely what creates power. Napoleon Hill said that responsibility is the price of greatness. Decision is not about emotion, it is about commitment. Many confuse decision-making with excitement. Excitement fades, the decision stands. Decision-making doesn't require daily motivation. She supports herself. Therefore, people with a strong aura, they don't explain their choices. They don't ask for validation. They don't get involved in internal debates. They've already decided. The silence that follows the decision, something curious happens after a genuine decision. The mind becomes silent, the body relaxes, anxiety decreases, because the internal struggle is over. And this silence is perceived externally as trust, maturity, natural authority. The aura grows stronger in the silence. A question that defines your destiny. Napoleon Hill had his students confront a simple question. Have you decided yet? Or are you still negotiating with fear? While you trade, the market fluctuates. While you waver, reality doesn't move. The decision brings the cycle to a close. Now you understand. Thoughts create the field. The word seals the aura. The decision establishes the identity. But something essential is still missing. How can you maintain this aura when the results haven't yet appeared? How to maintain stability in the face of delays, doubt, and external pressure. Napoleon Hill called this applied faith. In the next part, you will find out why. True faith doesn't ask for proof. It doesn't depend on emotion. And it is the cement that keeps the aura of success intact. Applied faith. How to sustain an aura of success before the results. There's a silent interval between the decision and the manifestation. This interval is where most people give up. Napoleon Hill called this space invisible proof of faith. It's the moment when nothing external has yet confirmed your choice, but everything internally has already changed. And here is the truth that separates those who win from those who revert to the old ways. The aura of success only holds up when faith doesn't depend on evidence. The biggest mistake: confusing faith with emotion. Many believe that faith is about feeling good all the time. But Hill was categorical. Faith is not enthusiasm. Faith is stable conviction. Emotions fluctuate. Faith remains. When someone builds their aura on emotion, she gets excited when something goes right, gets discouraged when there are delays. It fluctuates depending on the environment. This weakens the field. In aura of success, faith means to act as if you've already decided, even when nothing has happened yet. Faith as an internal attitude. Observe people who truly thrive. They don't spend the whole day wondering, will it work? What if it doesn't work? What if I'm wrong? Not because they are certain about the future, but why they trust their own decision. Napoleon Hill taught that applied faith is trust in a trained mind, not in chance. When you trust yourself, fear loses its power. Anxiety decreases, the aura stabilizes. Why does the universe test before responding? Here's a profound point. After a genuine decision, the following almost always arise: delays, doubts, obstacles, external silence. This is not punishment. It is consistency test. The universe observes. Are you going to stand by who you've chosen to be? Or are you going to backtrack? Most people back down. And in retreating, it undoes the field. Applied faith is behavior, not speech. Napoleon Hill observed something curious. People with real faith, they don't talk about their plans all the time. They don't try to convince anyone. They don't get involved in internal debates. They act in coherence. Applied faith appears in consistent choices, stable language. Will it work? Do you agree with me? Not out of arrogance, but right decision had already been made. And where there is firm resolve, there is no emotional neediness. Aura is dated. The energy stops leaking. Why doesn't the strong aura react? Reacting is a sign of internal instability. Who reacts? Still negotiating identity, still seeking recognition, still trying to defend himself. Those who possess a strong aura, observe listening, decides internally, acts when necessary. Silence is not passivity. It is absolute internal control. Presence as a universal language. Before words, there is the field. Before actions, there is the aura. When someone enters a room with a presence, the rhythm changes, attention turns, space is reorganized. Napoleon Hill saw this repeatedly in natural leaders. They didn't demand attention. They attracted. The moment when success ceases to be the goal. Here, an important turning point occurs. Success ceases to be something to be conquered, and it becomes summa-thingmanate. The person no longer chases after them. It proves nothing anymore. Don't live in anxiety about the outcome. She moves from abundance, and the world responds. The danger of talking too much again. There's an important warning here. Once the aura strengthens, the greatest risk is breaking the silence over long-standing insecurity. To justify oneself again, to explain again, to react again, this weakens the field. Therefore, at Aura of Success, silence is discipline. The authority that does not explain itself, true authority. It is not imposed. Don't shout. He doesn't defend himself. She is recognized. And when recognized, it creates space. Napoleon Hill said that true leaders occupy space without asking permission. This is a consolidated aura. The point of nitrogen monoxide return. When someone reaches this stage, does not revert to the old standard, it no longer mixes with the dough. One does not lose emotionally, because now, the center is firm. This is the state that precedes inevitable prosperity. Now you understand the whole journey. Thoughts create the field. The word seals the aura. The decision establishes the identity. Faith sustains the process. The crowd tries to pull back, silence consolidates power. Only the final stage remains. Operating from a position of prosperity. Live like someone who has already won. End the search cycle. Napoleon Hill called this permanent state of success. In the next and final part, you will understand how abundance becomes natural, why success starts to flow, and how to definitively seal the aura of success, operating from prosperity. The final state of the aura of success. There comes a point when the search ends. Not because all objectives have already been achieved. Not because the money has already reached its maximum potential. But why internally there's no longer a feeling of lack. Napoleon Hill called this state awareness of victory. In Aura of Success, we call it operate from prosperity. And here is the ultimate truth. When you operate from a place of prosperity, success ceases to be a goal and becomes a byproduct. The end of the persecution. Up to this point, you've understood something essential. Those who pursue, revel in absence. Those who seek, vibrate from a distance. Those who chase after it confirm that they still don't have it. True prosperity begins when this persecution ends. Napoleon Hill observed that the most successful men were not obsessed with money. They lived aligned with the identity of those who naturally produce value, and the money kept flowing. Operate from does not equal wait for it to arrive here. There's a subtle yet decisive difference. Operating from a position of prosperity does not mean denying the current reality. It means do not submit to it emotionally. You can. Still under construction, still organizing, still expanding. But internally, you no longer live in a state of deprivation. His behavior changes. Your language changes. His posture changes. And the aura returns definitively. The mental state that Napoleon Hill described. Hill said that there is a point at which the mind stop doubting, stop oscillating, stop sabotaging yourself. She simply asks him success is inevitable. At this point, decisions are made more calmly, choices are more strategic, emotions don't dominate. The person doesn't react to the money, she command. Prosperity as a standard, not an event. Most people treat prosperity as a rare occurrence. Something that comes and goes. The aura of success teaches the opposite. Prosperity is an operational standard. When you operate in this pattern, winning doesn't cause euphoria. Losses do not cause despair. Fluctuations don't cause disorganization. Because your identity is no longer tied to immediate results. The moment when the world organizes itself, something silent happens when you reach that state. People start to trust more, listen more, respect more. The opportunities, they arrive with less effort. They emerge from unexpected places. They seem like coincidences. Napoleon Hill made this clear. When the mind is ready, the paths appear. It's not magic, it's total alignment. Live like you've already won. Operating from a position of prosperity means Choose carefully. Speak precisely, act without anxiety, wait without tension. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain yourself. Your aura already communicates everything. The end of the internal war, here's the real gain. It's not just about money. It is inner peace through success. You no longer feel guilty for wanting more. Don't feel uncomfortable when you thrive. Don't sabotage yourself when things start to flow smoothly. Because now you understand, prosperity is not about excess. It's about aligning with who you truly are. Success as a natural consequence. Napoleon Hill observed that, at this stage, the effort decreases, clarity increases, the results accumulate. People no longer live trying to get things right. She lives executing from the correct identity, and identity creates reality. The final seal of the aura of success. We've reached the final point, which isn't an end, but a definite beginning. You don't need to repeat phrases, seek permission. No one is trying to convince anyone. Everything that needed to be done has already been done internally. Now you think like someone who thrives. He speaks like someone who makes decisions. Act like someone who trusts, remains as the one who won. This is the aura of success. You are not here by chance. This content is not entertainment. It is activation of consciousness. If something within you recognized this truth, that's because you were already ready. Success doesn't begin when the money comes in. Money comes when success arrives, that it already inhabits your aura. From now on, don't look any further. Works. Don't wait for any more signs. Be the sign. And remember, when the aura is aligned, the world cannot resist. Welcome to the permanent state of prosperity. Welcome to Aura of Success.